Howdy, welcome back. I'm Steven and this is FWP Reviews. After what was more than a doozy for a month during January, I was a little bit concerned about what February might have in store for us. While it wasn't a huge improvement, it was an improvement nonetheless, and it did keep me from ripping the rest of my hair out. Let's take a look at the good, the bad, and the mediocre of February 2022. I wouldn't say that February is necessarily this spectacular month, but there were a handful of pleasant surprises throughout. Now, I'm not saying that any movies I thought would be bad were fantastic or anything, but a few movies I did think would be bad actually turned out to be pretty good, all things considered. There were more than a few examples of these, and it sort of defined the month, but let's get started with the first movie I saw this month. The first movie I did see this month was Home Team, and Home Team was alright. That's about it. It tells some of the real life story of what happened when Sean Payton had to take a year off from the NFL following the scandal that he and the Saints faced during his time as a coach. During his time off, he returns to the town where his family is currently residing, and he takes up a role as an offensive coordinator for his son's junior football team. He does all this in a bid to get closer to his son. Kevin James and Taylor Lautner, surprisingly, were both pretty decent in their roles, and they brought a decent amount to the table that helped propel some of the weaker moments of this movie. It has heart, and it definitely tries to make something decent, although it doesn't succeed on all fronts. Following record-breaking Academy Award nomination combination, Flea is a movie that has received a lot of buzz. As soon as I found this movie available to stream, I dropped everything I could so I could watch it and view it. It is a supremely well-told documentary, and it does so through this incredibly intriguing medium of animation. The story is gut-wrenching, and the style of animation is really innovative and fresh for this genre. It is a little bit slow, like some documentaries are by nature, but overall this was an excellent movie. Moonfall is a movie about the moon falling to Earth. That's it. Well, it's also a really long Lexus SUV ad. This movie does it all except for the being a good movie part. It forgets to do that. There are some entertaining moments in the sort of, ooh, pretty explosion make brain go burr way, but that's it, virtually. Other than this, it is a mumbled mess that makes my head hurt to even think about. Marry Me was one of the first pleasant surprises that this month had in store. This movie looked as corny as all can be, but a movie about a superstar marrying a random stranger in her audience during one of her performances was surprisingly endearing. Owen Wilson and J-Lo are a big part of why this works because, surprisingly, they sell the romance incredibly easily. Their charm, coupled with some intrigue in the story elements, really helps sell this movie as a whole. Death in the Nile is a movie that has been looming over the movie viewing audience at the theaters for several months, what feels like even years at this point, as we just waited for it to show up finally. This month, it finally did release, and meh? It certainly isn't the worst thing to ever happen to me, or even this month, but there aren't many things to redeem it. The cast is decent, but there are of course some sore thumbs that have run into certain controversies since the movie's filming, which doesn't help a lot. Overall, it's alright, and it's a great pleasure to send Armie Hammer off into retirement. Licorice Pizza has been on my radar for many, many months. After discovering the world of Paul Thomas Anderson last year, I've been hooked ever since. Licorice Pizza is his new and innovative project that features a genre he hasn't delved into a lot. My hopes were extremely high for this movie, but I cannot say that I was overly joyed with it. There's no denying that this is a good and entertaining movie for me, at least. It doesn't do quite enough work to overcome some of its controversies, and this genre really doesn't suit Paul Thomas Anderson's style as well as I might have expected it to. I didn't hate it, but I am very disappointed as a whole. Jackass Forever is exactly what it promises to be. A Jackass movie. If you love Jackass and you've loved all the other Jackass movies, you will like this movie. If you've hated Jackass and never want to see anything related to Jackass ever again, you're gonna hate this movie. If you're sort of middling and you think that Jackass has its moments, but overall, what's really the value of it? Then you'll probably feel the exact same way about this movie. For me, I'm sort of middling. I think they have their jokes, and their real stride comes in their comedic timing. They make excellent jokes with their words and their timing of phrases, but the slapstick stuff isn't as much for me as that is. They've obviously got this down to a science, and the people who enjoy it, and they don't, but it's great to see that they're at least being integral to what they have stood for so long. Blacklight never lies to its viewers. It is the standard Liam Neeson action movie with some vagary about its story and some nonsense for sure, but it is Liam Neeson. old badass and beating the shit out of people. This movie does have a handful of things to keep you interested on the political and story side. They're all corny as all can be, but at least it tries to make something that's less standard and has some intrigue to it. Despite this, it is overly dull for most of the runtime. The movie does a few things very wrong that really hurt the movie as a whole. The editing and camera work is a nightmare. Whoever edited this movie must have just downloaded Windows Maker and tried every fucking filter they could find and just lined them up. It's really a lot to look at, and it gave me a headache just looking at it. I Want You Back was another pleasant surprise that the month of February had to offer. February is naturally a month known for love being in the air, but heartbreak is also pretty prevalently in the air during these months, as some have come to know. Some people know this better than others, and I Want You Back is sort of an ode to those people. When we see two strangers meet after being heartbroken, they attempt to get each other back with their exes, and subsequently nonsense ensues. The leading duo is excellent, and the movie has some incredible twists that really help hook you in and keep you wanting to view the movie until the very end. Uncharted was another movie that I was pleasantly surprised with this month. Uncharted isn't totally spectacular, but I really thought the movie would suck. Fans of the game have qualms with this movie, as I have seen in online discussions, but I am not a player of the game, so I do not have qualms with the movie. Uncharted has a decent cast and a lot of fun to be had. It isn't all that good story-wise, but it certainly tries to make a spectacle and a really enjoyable one at that. Kimi is another entry into Steven Soderbergh's long list of mediocre movies he has been making as of late. Kimi centers around a tech worker who works for this universe's version of Alexa, also known as Kimi, and she discovers a potential crime in one of the era recordings that comes back from the voice assistant. It has tense moments here and there, and it isn't all that bad. However, the movie does feel mostly anticlimactic. It's odd to me how this movie is something new and interesting, but it still feels so not fresh and not original. Parallel Mothers is a movie receiving a lot of attention because of its Academy Award-nominated lead performance by Penelope Cruz. It tells the story of two mothers giving birth at the same time in a hospital room and striking up a friendship despite them being in different stages of their life. It has a lot of great, impactful moments, and Penelope Cruz, along with the rest of the cast, really helped light up the screen. There's some weird moments in the plot that feel oddly placed or overly extended, but as a whole, it's a solid movie. Dog is the 10 millionth pleasant surprise this month. It feels like every movie's a pleasant surprise, but that's what February was this year. Dog is really hindered by its marketing. It plays as this really cheesy slapstick comedy that's just for laughs. Dog does have a lot of great laughs, and they're actually really well timed for the most part, but the movie's real stride comes in its portrayal of PTSD through its lead of Channing Tatum as well as the lead dog. It addresses things with grace, and it really manages to make something funny that's also impactful and valuable. It's extremely predictable, and you see the end coming from literally 10 miles away, but it still does enough to make the movie worthwhile and entertaining. Studio 666 is a movie, that's for sure. It has some brilliant slasher elements, and the humor is spot on at times. Dave Grohl acts pretty decently as a whole. The rest of the band does all right, but it's hard to blame them because you can really tell that they're just having fun and doing something for the love of it, though. There's a lot of fun references and horror history built into this story, and you can obviously tell that the people that crafted it are fans and they managed to make something worthwhile for the series, even if as a whole the movie is not necessarily that good. My favorite bit of that was John Carpenter and his work on the score, as well as his cameo. Drive My Car is a movie with a ton of hype behind it, and it's a lot of well-deserved hype. While I can't claim that Drive My Car is a masterpiece in my opinion, I can definitely see how some people are getting to that point. I can appreciate a long-running movie, but this movie does have moments that are a lot too long for what it could have been, in my opinion, and I think that the 3 hours might have been a stretch for what this movie needed. I think that the 3-hour runtime would have been more welcome if the more interesting aspects of the story had been addressed and touched on better. I feel like some of the better elements took the back seat at times. It is beautiful to look at and take in though, and there's so much thematic value to the movie that it's hard to complain about most of these things because it's just stellar overall. The Worst Person in the World is another movie that has been hotly talked about thanks to, again, the Academy Award nominations. The brilliant performance by Renata Reinsve really helps light up the screen and sell this movie. It has some incredible moments throughout that it's really truly a fresh and original romance at times. The only complaint I have is some of the movie starts to feel a little blocky because of the chapters, but as a whole, this movie is brilliant and another great entry into February. The Cursed is the final movie I saw this month, and it was a decently tense horror movie. It has a lot of really effective horror elements. Some of them didn't work as well. As a whole, the movie is mediocre, and it could have been so much more, though. Now on to the fun stuff. Obviously, February has marked a notable uptick in the average movie-going experience. The numbers don't lie, though, as we made an almost 1-point jump in average from 4.94 in January to 5.76 in February. I'll be interested to see how averages for the year start shaping up, and maybe there will be some interesting emerging patterns. With that, let's wrap this video up. February was a decent month for new movies, and it had some decent surprises as well. Now we go on to March, and hopefully March will be an even larger improvement in overall movie quality. With The Batman coming out soon, it's hard to say that March won't be the best month yet. Until next time, follow my Instagram at FWPReviews100 for daily written reviews about the newest movies. And with that, this is FWP Reviews signing off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.